Bloomberg's Jenna Dagenhart is standing by in New York. Jenna, with oil around $50 a barrel, what does it mean for South Africa and the world economy?
Yeah, Shahan, just months ago, we had major oil trading houses calling for the return of crude to $100 a barrel. But now, with prices at around half of that, oil importers such as South Africa and India stand to benefit, while major oil exporters such as Saudi Arabia and Russia, they could see some trouble, and central banks under pressure to continue raising interest rates. We'll get a bit of a reprieve, and those looking to revive prices, such as the Bank of Japan, could get a headwind. And with the Northern Hemisphere approaching its winter season, lower oil prices could be a bit of a cushion for households as well as businesses. And major oil importers such as South Africa with current account deficits also really stand to benefit.
And then U.S. President Donald Trump is threatening China with more tariffs. What's he calling for this time?
Yeah, so U.S. stocks have been fluctuating today as Donald Trump threatens these tariffs. He's saying that he'll likely push forward with plans to increase tariffs on $200 billion of Chinese goods. He also told the Wall Street Journal that he's prepared to impose tariffs on a final batch of $267 billion of Chinese shipments if he can't make a deal with China's leader Xi Jinping when they meet in just a few days here. They're scheduled to have dinner, as we just heard today, on Saturday at the G20 meeting in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And consumer goods would be top of the list if the U.S. does impose tariffs on that remaining list of Chinese imports, especially cell phones, laptops, wheeled toys, as well as puzzles. And Trump did say that he thinks that he could see Apple iPhone being hit with potentially 10% tariffs. Apple moved lower on this news, and so did its suppliers. Its suppliers were among the biggest decliners of the stock's tech index.
Trump also taking aim at General Motors for closing down plants. Tell us more.
Yes, Trump went after GM today on Twitter. He and GM fell as much as 2.9% and traded down 2.4% as of 2:16 p.m. in New York on this news, on this tweet. He said he's very disappointed in General Motors and their CEO, Mary Barra, for closing factory plants in Ohio, Michigan, and Maryland. He says nothing's being closed in China or Mexico, and the U.S. helped to save GM, and this is the thanks we get. Those were his words from the tweet. He said, we're now looking at cutting all GM subsidies, including for electric vehicles. Now, Bloomberg Intelligence, Kevin Tynan is weighing in on this. He says that he's a little bit skeptical about Trump's tweet because he says Trump may be referring to a limited tax credit for consumers of electric vehicle purchases. And so this would not really go to GM. It would go to consumers, and it could hurt all companies that make electric vehicles, not just GM.
Yeah, and then the U.S. is seeing a bit of a slowdown in capital spending. Does this flash a warning sign for 2019 U.S. growth?
Yes, so fueled by President Trump's tax cuts, we saw some really robust economic growth in the first half of 2018. But the boost from lower taxes is projected to fade next year, and a string of weak reports raises some questions about this outlook. Companies are facing tariff-related uncertainty as well as cooling global demand and higher borrowing costs, and with firms using tax savings for buybacks and dividends instead of more investments. That may mean that the best gains are already over. And a lot of strategists seem to really be watching this CapEx spending as a major indicator. David Wu at Bank of America says that CapEx is the #1 story right now. He says there are hundreds of data points coming out every month, but this is the one that I watch. We also saw the Fed Vice Chairman Rich Clarida saying in a speech recently in New York that business investment really is very crucial to the economy.
All right, thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. That was Bloomberg's Jenna Dagenhart in New York.